So I would start off by saying cosine squared, that is the same thing as cosine pi t, all raised to the second power, and then the sine of pi t. And you know, technically you just have one term for your argument, so the parentheses are optional there. And honestly, like, I would just kind of drop the parentheses for the argument because it's going to get a lot of parentheses if you have that. Okay? Alrighty, so where should we go from here? Once I rewrite that, then I say to myself, oh, I have parentheses to a power, so let me pick as my u that quantity inside of the parentheses. So I'll pick u as cosine pi t. Now, to take the derivative, we really have to be on our toes here because cosine of pi t has parentheses around it. It's the argument of the trig function. And so this is going to require the chain rule. So I'm going to take the derivative of cosine. That is going to give us negative sine. Keep the inside fixed at pi t. And then by the chain rule, I have to multiply by the derivative of the inner. And the derivative of pi t will simply be pi. And then we have our dt differential. So this is our little key here for how we are going to convert the integral. But the key thing here is that to get our du, we are using the chain rule. We have the derivative of the outside, keep the inside fixed, multiplied by the derivative of the inner. All right, so I'm going to do this as a two-step process here. I'm going to first say, okay, the obvious thing is that this cosine pi t, that by definition is becoming u to the second power. And if I just focus on converting into u to begin with, that's going to leave us still with the sine pi t and the dt. Now, if you look at your du term, you see that to get du, you need to multiply in by a negative. So that means you'll multiply on the outside by a negative. You have the sine of pi t. You don't have a pi. So you also have to multiply in by a pi. And so that means that you'll have to divide by a pi. So we're actually multiplying in by negative pi and then dividing by negative pi. And then we have our dt. Okay? So at that point, all of this collapses down to our du. Okay? So our integral is looking like negative 1 over pi integral u squared du. Now, at that point, everything is in terms of u, so we are ready to integrate. So the negative 1 over pi is going to tag along. The u squared, we add 1 to the exponent, divide by the new exponent. Because we don't have bounds, we add the plus c. And then once we integrate, we're just going to switch back. And again, to switch back, we're going to use u is equal to cosine pi t. So we'll plug in for our u cosine pi t to the third power. Now, do keep in mind here, you guys, this is one big fraction, and the pi times 3, that is going to be 3 pi. And then we have plus c. All right, now, to get your final answer here, what I would do is I would rewrite this. You have negative cosine cubed pi t over 3 pi plus c. And that would be your final answer.